Hello, my name is Blade, and welcome to the 2026 Mid-Year Film Catch-Up. First of all, crazy, midway through 2026, I feel like we're always saying, like, oh my god, time moves so fast. No. But this year, genuinely, it went pretty fast for a year that, while horror is popping off, I do think when I was making this list, I was like, it has been a little bit slow of a movie year in a way, though. Like, there's not several big hitters, I don't think, but there are some. So basically, if you've never been here before, or if you're like new to over here, in the middle of the year, and also at the end, but the middle of the year, I kind of like to do catching up with all the movies that I watched that are new from this year that I did not review, because I don't review every single movie I watch. I'm a little bit more selective in what I decide to review. What's a big release, or like what's horror also, and then what's on my personal radar, what I think I have things to say about. Well, other ones I'm like, I don't really think I need to do a full dedicated video to. So we're just going to kind of do a quick round talking about all the movies that I watched I did not review. Instead of going alphabetical, I think it's easier to go by what I ended up rating them on Letterboxd. So, I go like by the stars. Yeah, I honestly think it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to spend too much time on it, but also peep the shirt, a nice VHS shirt. I will link it below. It's from a cool little, I'm pretty sure, like, independent company that has some cool stuff, so I'll link that below. But without further ado, I guess let's get into it. All right, we're first up, starting off in the 2 stars, stuff I rated 2 stars. And there's only one movie, and we are kind of starting off on a weird note because this is a Tubi original. But I did in fact watch it in this year, so I must talk about it. I watched How to Lose a Popularity Contest. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this piece of art, if you will, it's a Tubi original that, I'm sorry, I don't know the actress's name, but the main draw of this is it does star TikTok alum Lil Huddy, and I'm pretty sure his first and only movie. It's just kind of one of those, the best way I can describe this to you is it's very much like an after movie. Or similar, like, The Quarterback with Noah Beck.
Excuse me, because I'm a jock, I don't understand consent.
But I gave it 2 stars because, speaking of The Quarterback with Noah Beck, that is definitely better. This is just kind of, it's fine. I do have kind of a guilty pleasure for these types of movies. I'm not saying that they're necessarily good, but I have a soft spot for them. I think they're fun. Me and my cousin watched them together, but this one is, if we're talking about those types of movies, this is bottom of the barrel of those movies. All right, we're now moving on to 2.5 stars, of which I have 3 movies. The first one being Joe's College Road Trip. This is a in Madea universe Tyler Perry movie. Specifically, this is the first time we're focusing on Uncle Joe. Now, why did I rate it 2.5? I'm not like a prude, even though this is a film channel and I do talk about, like some auteur films and whatever. I'm not a prude when it comes to film. I get down with a comedy, I get down with a trashy movie, but if we're gonna rate them objectively, I'm gonna rate them objectively. And this is just one that, if we're gonna talk about Madea movies and Tyler Perry movies, this just isn't one of the best. I mean, let's just be honest, they haven't really been the best in a while, but this one's definitely like just fine. I do remember there were some funny moments, like I did laugh, and I honestly don't think the story idea is even bad. I just think it's ultimately, if we're talking Madea movies, this just isn't really one of the funnier or like better storyline ones. Next up, it's gonna sound like I don't like comedy movies because I have Scary Movie 6, or I guess if we're going to do the meta thing, it's just called Scary Movie. The thing is, and honestly I think most people will actually understand, so maybe I don't need to explain too much, but this Scary Movie installment, I'll say this. Okay, I'll explain why I gave it 2.5 stars, like where the 2.5 stars comes from, but then why it couldn't go any higher. The 2.5 is fully for the opening and the ending. The opening, I don't want to spoil anything, but very strong opening. A reference point I didn't think we are gonna go for. A cameo I did not anticipate. And overall, like, I was laughing out loud. It was funny. Then the ending, I also thought not only was it funny, but also for a scary movie, like very cleverly written, like great meta like commentary. Like they like also way better motive than any of the actual ghost faces in recent time. Like it was really strong written. The middle of the movie is why this cannot be more than a 2.5. As much as I liked the references they were going for, and there was times I did laugh. I will say that there was definitely times I did laugh in this movie. Not even like chuckled. I did like actually like laugh. But the middle just was a little bit too much of like a compilation. Like I don't want to say too much to spoil it, but in other scary movies, you know, the even as absurd as it gets, I feel like the references and the stuff is usually somehow written into the plot or like in like a flashback or something. But in this one, the middle was truly just a random compilation of as many references as they could fit. And I just didn't enjoy that. And also, I feel like I mean, obviously, a lot of these people are not going to actually stay dead. It's like that's how the scary movie universe works. But I just feel like when characters died and stuff, it was just weird, and it could have been better. And just yeah, unfortunately, it didn't fully hit the landing. But based off what they did in this one, if they were to not like try to squeeze in as many references as possible, I have faith that like a Scary Movie 7 could honestly be genuinely pretty good. Like as far as spoof movies go. All right, last up in the 2.5 stars, we have The Strangers Chapter 3. Now, I'm going to be honest. I have a little bit of a soft spot for these. I think it's just simply because I like Madeline Petch and I also like Gabriel Basso. And ooh, is he a hot man in this movie series? I know he shouldn't be. I know he's a killer, like whatever, but he just looks so good. But if we're going to be honest. The first one, honestly, to me, the first one I don't think was as much as a crime as people thought it was. I think it was like a decent 3 stars. The second one, we don't even need to. That was wild. This one, though, is a step up from the second one, but it is proof that we did not need that second one. It could have been 2 movies, or 1 really, but 2 movies. And you know, the thing is, I think why I gave it the 0.5 is because honestly, to me, there was some interesting ideas that were introduced. I think that they were kind of doing something, but ultimately it doesn't land. I really don't think I have to go too in depth about this. Like these movies just kind of are what they are. They are a fun, silly, just like we're not taking things too serious watch though. So 2.5. All right, moving on to things I gave 3 stars. Now, this first one is one I almost did an actual review for, and it's one that you would probably expect that I would because it was a bigger release, but that is Disclosure Day. The reason I decided not to do a review is because I usually, first of all, decide before I watch the movie if I'm gonna do a review. And leading up to this one and just hearing the things around it, I was like, maybe it's just one to skip. And then I decided I'll watch it and then I'll make the decision. And when I left the theater, I was just kind of like, I don't really know what I would have to say. And then when I watched some other people's opinions, I was like, I don't think I'd be adding anything really new to the conversation either. So I just decided to not. But, you know, this is this video, so I will give my brief thoughts. I don't think this is like a bad showcasing from Spielberg at all. Like there's some great direction, obviously. The direction is not where the ball was dropped. I think what it is here is just that this is like what everybody's been saying, it just could have been more tightly written and the story could have maybe used some revisions. I kind of agree that as much as I liked Josh O'Connor in this movie and I did like his storyline, the primary focus definitely should have been Emily Blunt's character in my opinion. And there's a lot of interesting ideas in here too. I just don't know if we got to fully unpack all of them. But it is. I think it's still worth a watch. That I will say. Like that's. I gave it 3 stars. I do think, especially the. This is a very rare thing. This is what I will say. The third act really slaps. Like it starts to really get going in the third act. And I feel like that's rare for a movie for it to be like first, second act like kind of like and then in the third act it just goes boom. Like it just really gets going. But that is the case with Disclosure Day. But I still think it's worth the watch if you like Spielberg, especially if you like Alien movies. That is my other critique. It's not this is less critique of the movie and critique about marketing, but as much as it was obvious that this movie was most likely an alien situation, I still think we could have left a little mystery. But I think, unfortunately, as we all know, that's just kind of going out of the window, out the door with movie marketing, unfortunately. All right, next up in 3 stars, another one that I did kind of contemplate doing a review for, but I don't know. I just after watching it, I was just kind of like, I don't really know if this needs a full dedicated review, but that would be Forbidden Fruits. Now, I gave this a 3 stars, and for some people, 3 stars might be too even like a half star too much. But I don't know. I think this was fun. I don't like it. Definitely could be written a bit stronger. There's definitely like it could have been umphed up a bit more. But I think what's here, like the bones, are good. I think I got to rewatch it recently, and it kind of solidified my feelings. I'm like, this is just a good, silly, fun time. Like it has the potential to be something really great, but like I'm not mad at it. I have a fun time with it. I think this type of movie doesn't really get made that much anymore, so that's cool. I love the mall single location setting. I love the slight kind of fusion of like Mean Girls and The Craft. Also, I don't care what anybody says, Lily Reinhardt is eating it the fuck up in this movie. Like there is some shit that's like still in my head since I've watched it that's so fucking funny. Like in just it's like yeah. Not surprised that Diablo Cody is involved in this project. It's very much in that realm of like a Jennifer's Body or like something like that. But yeah, it's it's a fun time. It's nothing like super crazy. It could be, but like I'm not mad at it. I wouldn't even be mad if we got something else kind of in the same universe. Maybe like not direct sequel, but I'd be kind of interested in this like mall coven whatever situation. All right, next up in 3 stars we have Masters of the Universe. Now, 3 stars for some people again might be like an extra star, half a star too much, but I kind of get the sense that maybe I'm more on board with what they were trying to do with it than others. Because, first of all, I have a feeling like fans of the source material might not like certain choices, and that's probably where like some of the hate comes from. But like, don't get me wrong, this could be written a lot stronger, but I'm not mad at what it is. I think they were very much going for something kind of making fun of itself and kind of aware of what it is. And I'm glad it didn't fall too hard into like nostalgia. They definitely weren't afraid to play with nostalgia, but they weren't like just doing like fan service nostalgia. I think they were very willing to like make fun of themselves, and that helped us a lot. But I can understand how that comedy is not going to work for everyone. And also, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I also really didn't mind the kind of commentary in it and the jokes that were being made about like masculinity. I think that's honestly why it's even at 3 stars for me. Like that didn't have to be in it, and I kind of respect that they did it. Even how effective is it? I don't really know, but like I respect that it's in there. I like Nicholas as He-Man. Now, let me just address the elephant in the room really quick. Do I think Jared Leto ate it up as Skeletor? Yes. However, I was unaware until after watching this movie about the scandal involving, or several scandals, I should say, involving Jared Leto. I knew this, like the Joker stuff and like all of that, but I didn't know the more heavy things around him. which is really unfortunate because if Skeletor was like less present in the movie, I don't think it would taint it as much, but it definitely does because he does a good job as Skeletor, unfortunately, and it's so integral to the plot that like it kind of just stains the rewatchability of it. So that's unfortunate, but otherwise, 3 stars. All right, last but not least, in 3 stars, we have Pretty Lethal, which is a ballerina action horror, I suppose you could say. Random 3 words to put together that probably hasn't been said since Black Swan. But this is not in the vein of Black Swan. If anything, it's actually really kind of badass. I gave it a 3 stars because at the end of the day, what I have to say about this movie is it's just fun. It is just a good time. The actresses that are in it are great. I think it genuinely has some cool action scenes and some creative action in it. Also creative concept. Uma Thurman is here randomly, but I'm not mad at it. Her character could have been written a little bit better though. I think there was some like kind of like moments I really had to just like go with it. But yeah, I mean honestly, it's probably like the shortest little thing I could say about this movie, but like I think it's just a fun time, and that's just like that on that. All right, unfortunately, nothing that I didn't review surpassed a 3.5. So the last little section of today is the 3.5 section, and the first movie in that is Faces of Death. I was kind of hoping I would feel a little bit more strongly about this, but the movie just kind of ended up not being what I expected at all. And I'm not a person that judges movies based off of expectations. In fact, I try to go in there zero expectations. But, you know, first of all, there's a source material. But second of all, it's less that I had expectations going into it and more like what I thought it was going to be watching like the first 10-15 minutes of it versus of where it went was just not what I was expecting. It leaned a little bit more generic, and I thought we were gonna get a little bit more, you know, adventurous and like lean a lot more into like the gore and like the aspect of the, you know, original. But it did kind of turn into a bit of a generic thriller, which is not to say that it's derivative at all. I just mean like the structure and like the way that things take place. You know, like the way it unfolds is just very like the kind of like the formula. You know, I think Barbie is great as a lead in it. I, for the life of me, cannot figure out how to pronounce this man's name, and I forgot to look it up beforehand.
Hi, I'm Dacre Montgomery. Hi, I'm Dacre Montgomery.
But I also think him as the killer was also, he did a great performance, but like otherwise, like it's just kind of fine. Also, random Charlie XCX inclusion.
Yeah, well, riding your high horse isn't gonna bring anyone back to life.
All right, next up, penultimately in 3.5 is Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. I think for a movie that did not necessarily need a sequel and would like inevitably get one because of, you know, like fan culture and like the studios being out of ideas, this is not one that I am mad at. I think Radio Silence really locked in and said, you know what, if we're going to do a sequel, we're going to do it right. I think the concept they came up with for there to be a sequel does work, and they did enough different things as well where it didn't just feel like same over again. Catherine and Samara are great leads in it. All the supporting cast is great. You know, Elijah Wood. It also had Sarah Michelle Gellar. Like, everybody does great in this. It's nothing like, you know, it's not an Oscar-winning movie or anything like that. It doesn't need to be, but this is, like, honestly, like, it's a really good sequel for a movie that didn't necessarily need a sequel. All right, last but not least, I have The Devil Wears Prada 2. Now, for some reason, I don't know what I was on the day that I rated this on Letterboxd, because I thought the whole time I gave it a 3.5. Apparently, my out-of-theater rating was a 4, and I was like, hold your horses. So I adjusted it before this video. You know, the thing about The Devil Wears Prada 2 is, for a nostalgia sequel, or what are they called, for a legacy sequel, and a legacy sequel that didn't really need to exist. I was very on board with like what this movie had to say because it kind of justified its existence. So I'm not mad that it exists without spoiling the movie. I do like that it had something to say about like modern journalism, and just it just had a lot of like really good, like very on point things to say about current culture, and like the death of like media kind of. But outside of that, I think it's just fine. It doesn't necessarily like reach the levels of the original, because even if you don't think the original is a 5 out of 5, I still think the general consensus is pretty high. Like I think most people would at least give it a 4 or a really strong 3.5, but it just doesn't reach those levels because it's very much more of a serious movie too than the first movie. The first movie is a comedy first, I think, with like some drama involved. This is like a drama that has a lighthearted drama with some comedy occasionally, but yeah, I think it's just kind of, it's good. I wouldn't say it's fine. I do think it is good. It's just kind of like forgettable. Like I don't find myself thinking about it much afterwards. And I definitely don't think I'll be rewatching. Even if I rewatch The Devil Wears Prada, it's not going to prompt me to want to watch the second one. And also, what I will say, my only like more negative critique is I do not like what they did with the character of Emily, and I also think we kind of wasted the character of Emily. We could have did something else there, but otherwise, it's fine. So those are my thoughts, comments, and concerns about all the movies that I watched released this year that I didn't officially review. I feel like this is a less interesting one than the previous ones I've done. It's just anything that I didn't choose to review outside of maybe like Disclosure Day and The Devil Wears Prada 2 just weren't very huge releases, or that I had a lot to say about, or movies that were like very interesting and complex. I feel like I either reviewed those movies or we just haven't got to those movies in the year. Like, don't get me wrong, this year has been great for movies so far in terms of like horror and like the random gems. We've gotten like some pretty good gems, but like the in between, just hasn't been all heavy hitters or anything. But it's the beginning half of the year. I'm about to be very busy because the floodgates are about to open with the end of summer, fall releases, and then all like the movies that are being pushed for Oscar campaign. So, you know what, maybe we should enjoy this second of simplicity before the floodgates really open. But anyways, I think that's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, I do longer, or I should say more, specific reviews typically. I haven't been posting as much lately, but it's just because there hasn't really been a lot of movies like to do full dedicated reviews to. I could, I guess, do more dedicated reviews to other movies. I just feel like it'd be disingenuous for me to like review movies that I don't have all that much to say about, whether it be positive or negative. But I do movie reviews here. I also do video essays, and I am a small independent filmmaker myself, so the support would be nice. But as for now, that's pretty much it. So I guess I will see you in the next one.